Perashat Korach discusses the machloket between Korach that he stirred up against Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem. I want to talk to you a couple minutes about the damage that machloket could cause for us in our everyday lives. When it comes to machloket and strife, fighting with other parties of people, whether it be people or institutions, nobody wins. What do I mean when I say nobody wins? Even if a person's technically right, they still don't come out of the machloket unscathed. There's often a knock to a person's reputation. Lashon hara motzi shem ra, and people are saying bad things about the other party. People are saying bad things about each person involved in the machloket, and soon the machloket could take on a life of its own. I once heard a story from the rabbi who witnessed this firsthand. There was a tremendous machloket going on in the community. So much so that it started between two people, but it ended up growing and growing and growing, till each person in the community had an opinion in the matter and was taking one side. Needless to say, each party suffered tremendously, and especially the people who the machloket started with. My rabbi once went to go visit on a Friday night his family at their Shabbat table, where he knew they wouldn't be bothered. They would be alone, celebrating Shabbat with their family, and to give the guy chizuk, because a lot of bad things were said about him, this head of household, this past week. He went and he knocked on the door, and his wife answered the door. Sitting at the table were his wife and kids in the middle of the Shabbat Seudah. The rabbi who came to visit asked the wife, "Where is your husband?" She said, "He's sitting in the kitchen." After what was said about him this week, he's not even able to go face his kids at the Shabbat table. He's too embarrassed. So he's eating alone, facing the wall. That is but one of many examples of what machloket can cause. Besides financial stress, besides financial loss, besides a person's reputation going downhill, what could even be sometimes totally false and made-up accusations. Nobody wins when it comes to machloket, even though the person could technically, in theory, be right. In fact, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach used to say the following: "I've never seen anybody give in and lose." Which begs the question, give in and lose? By you win? By giving in? Sometimes a person who gives in could sometimes feel like the sucker. But really, that couldn't be further from the truth. Because the person who takes a step back and gives in, whether he knows he's really right, or whether he doesn't know he's really right, he puts the brakes on this life of machloket that could spread rapidly and take on its own life. He could put an end to the pain and suffering that he would have suffered had he caused it to go on and stand his ground. In fact, the Chafetz Chaim says a fascinating concept. He says just like people have the minhag to put money on the side, 10% of their earnings, to give to tzedakah, which we call ma'ased, so too a person should have the habit of putting a couple dollars aside in a separate account, in the side, to use as what's called shalom money. Shalom money, that if anything ever happens, even if it's a dispute with a couple $100 or something like that, to go and to say, you know what, even though deep down I know I'm right, take the money, take a couple dollars, and it will prevent the whole machloket from growing and growing and rolling out of hand. We should try to internalize this so much, because the only thing we gain, we get into a machloket, is we end up stooping to the other party's low. So we should know and internalize whether we are right or whether we are wrong. We should put the brakes on machloket. Keep quiet, give in, put an end to it, even if it means paying a couple dollars. It's worth it in the long run, for ourselves and for Klal Yisrael.